How to set up the MySQL Server in Oracle Cloud Always Free tier. Oracle Cloud provides the free resources: 4 OCPU, ARM server, 200 GB hard drive storage. With those resources, you can create the server where you can install the MySQL and use the server for your purpose, for your exercise, learning how the server works, how to work with the server, connect your application to that MySQL server. How we can do this? The first, create an account in Oracle Cloud free tier. When you're creating an account, you will have $300 towards the Oracle resources. After 30 days, some resources are removed from your account, but as long as you're using the always free tier resources, you can continue using those resources. But now, let's go and set up the server. What we're gonna do? We're gonna set up the compartment for the database. We're going to add VCN, add virtual server. Once we create the virtual server, we log in, then we're going to change user root, user password. This is very important steps for the maintenance purpose. Something happened, you have to have backdoor to the server. The backdoor is provided by the console access. To access through console, you have to have password for the account which you want to access. Okay, this is very important step. This will be our preparation. Then we're going to install the MySQL Server. Just simple yum command to install the service. Once we have MySQL Server installed, we're going to add the user. It will be your user that you can access that server remotely. And then we're going to enabling the port 3306, which is the default MySQL port, to access from your home to that server directly. That you can use any application which you like to use to managing the MySQL Server, MySQL SQL, for example, the Oracle Workbench. You can use that application and connect directly from your laptop, your PC, to the remote server. You don't have to have any additional application like PHP, MySQL, which giving you web browser access. Okay? But now, as we know what we're going to do, let's get there and let's make that server. We're going to log into the account. To create account, just go to oracle.com/free and create your free account. After you log into cloud account, you'll have the console view. In that console view, first we're going to create the compartment. Compartments. Now, the compartments are the logical structure and grouping of your resources. That as you're going to grow tomorrow, it's good to start with the good foundations and build the structure of your network. Click Create Compartment, Database. Database servers as description. Okay, let's refresh. Okay, and we have a database compartment. First step to building our network is to create VCN. Now let's go to our network, networking, virtual cloud network. And we have two options: create VCN or start wizard to build our VCN. The VCN has to be in the compartment database. That if you have by the default selected different compartment, select the one where you want to build your VCN, virtual cloud network, that we're selecting the database. Now we have two options. One, go with the manual process where we have to create VCN and then build the NAT gateway, service gateway, and internet gateway. Or we can use the wizard, and wizard will creating those gateway for us. Now, I'm going to use the wizard. And we're going to select the create VCN with internet connection. Database, compartment database, CDAR block. I'm changing this to 10.11.10/0/24. Public subnet. Now, when we're creating the wizard, when we're using the wizard, wizard will use or will create the two subnets, the public subnet and private subnet. That we have to define the IP address for both subnets. 11.10.0/. Okay, we know we're going to use only one server at this moment, that I'm gonna put here just let's say 20, 24, 25, 26, and then here I'm going to use 11.10. Okay, let's use the calculator to calculate the CDAR. And we're using the A network, 11.10.0/26, 10.11.10.0. The subnet mask, bit mask, we setting up as 26. That means we have 62 hosts per subnet, and we ending up on 62. That means our next address is 64. Okay, 64, and now subnet ID is 64. That our subnet, private subnet, will start with 64/26. Okay, that this is the IP network. That with the 0/24 you have 256 devices. If you're making the smaller subnet like here /26, we have just 62 devices. And then next subnet can start from the next segment. Okay, the next segment is 64. Now, you can use this online IP subnet calculator, put the numbers, and it will calculating the subnet ID and give you the range of the IP addresses which you can use in that subnet. Okay, now we define the subnet. Okay, that this is everything what we need to set up, and press next, validate, and click create. Okay, fantastic. In the couple seconds we have the subnet created. And let's go to view the cloud network. We have the subnets, private subnet, public. In the public subnet, you can add the public IP address and then make the connection to that IP address from public. To private, there is the private. There is no public connection. There is no public access to the private subnet. Okay, now as we creating the public subnet, let's create the server. To create the server, we're going to compute, instances. Make sure you are in the compartment database. where you want to have your server. And now let's create instance. Database placement. We're gonna use the default placement, but that you understand, you can place the server in any of the availability domain. Oracle provides 3 availability domain, AD1, AD2, AD3 in some region. Some regions have only 1 availability domain, but some region has 3 availability domain. In every domain, you have a fault domain. That means in one availability domain is cut by the 3 pieces, and each piece is the fault domain. That means completely independent segment of that data center from the power networking perspective. They're not sharing anything. In case of the failure of the one fault domain, the second fault domain is still working. This is important from high availability perspective. But we're creating just one server. That doesn't matter where you're gonna put this. We can leave this as default values. Image and shape. We're using the Oracle Linux, and by the default there is the micro, which is 1 core OCPU and 1 GB RAM. We're going to change this, and we're using Ampere and selecting the Ampere, and here you have option to select the size of this server. Okay, right now I'm gonna just use 2 and 2. After server is built, you can select immediately 4 and 24 right when you're creating, or you can make the smaller one and later on you can increase and change the resources. Okay, let's say we're gonna put 4 and 24. Okay, let's see, select the shape. Networking. For networking, we're using the VCN database, public, and we are assigning the public IP address. In the details, you can define your private IP. That I like to do this. 10.11.10.11 DB1, and we're going to pass my public key. To connect to servers, you have to define the public key. There is the servers are created with OPC username, and connection is only through SSH and only with the pair of the private public key. You have the option to download the key, which can be generated here. You can upload your public keys, or you can paste your public key string. And I'm going to paste from the file which I created before. Okay. By the default, the server have 50 GB size. You can increase this here, or we can add later the additional data folder. That at the moment of the creating the server, I'm going to use just the default size. That keep everything with the default. This also helped me to manage my resources. And we're gonna build that server using this configuration. In the future, if you're using this server and you're growing above 50 gigs of this hard drives, you need more, you can add additional hard drive and then move your data partition to that additional hard drive. This way that hard drive can grow independently from the root partition. Okay, and we're leaving everything else by the default. Okay, now this is the minimum configuration to create first server. Okay, we click create, and now the server is provisioning. This is gonna take a couple minutes. We have the IP address of that server. We're going to copy this IP address. Okay, and now server is up and running. What we see here, we have the instance created this successfully. We have the information about the shape that we're using, the 4 CPU 24 GB RAM. It is in VCN database. Perfect. But now we are ready to make the connection to that server. We are using PuTTY. How to connect to server? To connect to server, we're going to use the PuTTY. In PuTTY, in the hostname, we're putting IP address of the server, putting port 22, save the name. I'm putting my account ID and then server name. Port number for the reference. I'm gonna click save. Now, we need to add additional configuration here. We need to add, we're going to data, and we're gonna put here OPC. This is your user, which is the default user for accessing the server, and that user will be configured with the public key which we just used during the setup. That we're adding here the user OPC, and in SSH authentication we have to provide the private key for our public key. Okay, OCI demo. And make sure that after you do the changes, make sure you save. That go back to session and save. If you not save, that change which we just did, that means user and the key, is only for this session. You're gonna create open, it's gonna make the open connection, and then this change is gonna be lost. Then when later on, when you come back to this session, you're gonna load and try open again, you will have a problem to make the connection because key will be not defined, user will be not defined. Okay, that always save the session. Okay, and now let's click open. When we open, we see the connection is established to this IP, which is our IP of the server, and port 22. We're gonna accept, and we have a message to login. And let's just type our passphrase, and we are logging in. Okay, let me close this, and I'm gonna increase the size of fonts. Change, and let's put here 16. Okay. I'm changing the size of the fonts to see this a little bit better. Now let's go back to my session, save and open. Okay, fantastic. We connected to the server. Now, one digression here. This server right now is wide open. The access to this port is from everywhere. That soon as this IP is broadcasted, everybody will have access to that port. Sorry, not everybody will have access, but everybody will try login to that server, and then you will see a lot of traffic coming to your server over port SSH, which people will trying to hack to your server. Okay, your first thing after you create the server, change password, secure the server. Okay, now sudo -s, and let's change the password for server. passwd, and we're setting up new password. Okay, password is successful. Let's validate this. Okay, fantastic. The password is changed and I was able to log in successfully to this account, not using the sudo. Now, this is important because if something happened with this server and you cannot connect to the server over SSH, you have option to connect through console, but connect to console, you have to know the password to that server. Okay, that you need to know the root account and password to that account, or you have to have different other users set with the password. Okay, that's a very important step. Now, next step, as I mentioned, is to secure the connection. Now, let's go back to our virtual cloud network, networking, virtual cloud network, VCN database, public subnet. Public subnet is using the default security list, and here you see that the IP for port 22 is 0000/0. It means everybody have access. This is one which you want to lock just for you. Now, how you can find your IP? Let's go to Google and my IP. Google will tell you what is your IP address. Now, copy this IP address, edit, and put here as a source your IP address. The IP address /32 means you are limited to just this IP. Downtime of this solution, tomorrow if your IP will change, you have to come here and change the IP because you will be not able to log into that server. If you have a dynamic IP, this gonna happen to you. Okay, once the router get the new IP, you're gonna lose the connection. You have to get your new IP address and update here the access list. Okay, we have this, but now you see I have an open connection to the server, and I'm gonna open one more connection. I'm able to make the connection. Okay, just to demonstrate to you that I cannot connect. Let's say if tomorrow my IP will change, right? That I can just demonstrate you if I'm gonna change this IP here. I change my access list, and now I'm going to make the connection. My connection is pending. You see, right now I cannot make the connection. That this is gonna happen when your IP will change tomorrow. Okay, let's bring this back. Okay, as we are here, we want to also open the port 3306 because we're going to use this port to connect to MySQL Server. Now, add the ingress rules. I'm also restricting this from my IP. Okay, now we are prepare our subnet for connection, for the network connection. Now let's go back to server. We are the root. That now we can do the yum install MySQL Server. Okay, we see that we're going to install the MySQL Server and dependency, the connector, MySQL common error messages that all those packages will be installed. We're going to install the MySQL 8030. Now this is the latest MySQL Server. Okay, let's wait a couple minutes for installation complete. And now let's start the service. Okay, and let's connect. Okay, like you see, we have MySQL Server. That the process to creating the server was quick, simple, and in couple minutes we have MySQL Server available for us. Now this is the community version. By the default, the community version do not have the root password. That, like you see, I just log in as root, did not provide the password. That I want to change the password for the root user. Okay, flash privileges. Okay, and I want to open another session and validate if I am able to log in with the new password. Okay, my password is good, that the change password happened successfully. Fantastic. Now the next step is to create the user, because root user is allowed login only from localhost. Now you want to have the user who can log in from your remote, and then later you may add applications which can log in. I'm creating the user Mariusz, which allow login from everywhere, identified by the password. User created, and grant permission to this user to access and have access to every database. And flash privileges. But now, as I create the user, I open the connection to the database, but now I will be able to make connections from my laptop, from my PC. How to connect to the database from your desktop, from your PC? I'm using the MySQL Workbench. MySQL Workbench is available from oracle.com to download, actually from mysql.com to download this and use for your purpose. Now, once you're downloading, okay, let's just go to Google. MySQL Workbench, and you have the first link to download, and you can just download. You have to have Oracle account, that create your account. This account is different than cloud account. Okay, those are two different accounts. That create your oracle.com account and also a cloud account. When you need to download Workbench, you have to use your Oracle account. Download, it's gonna download the installation version and then perform installation. Once you install, okay, MySQL Workbench. Let's create a new connection. be 1 IP address of the server. And we're gonna connect as user Mariusz. Okay, on the server, okay, we still get the failure connection. On the server, like you see, we have the firewall enabling that. Right now, for this purpose, I'm going to disabling just the firewall for now, and later we can enabling the firewall once we enabling the once we validate this. Okay, I'm disabling the firewall. There is no firewall, and we're gonna try test again. And now we get the question for for our password. Let's enter our password. And okay, and we have a successful connection. Okay, we can store the password in Vault. Test connection. Okay, and okay, now we have a second connection to the second server. Now when you see we make the connection, we have a sys database. We have here the administration details related to the dashboard performance and user management. Now in schema, let's creating the test database. Let's say I'm gonna create test 101. Database is created. We see here, and now when we're going to the server, and we have here the database 101. Okay, but now you are able to make the connection to your database, work from with your database directly from your PC. Now we completed the server setup. Thank you for watching this training. Hope by now you build your own server and you can access your server. If you have any question, join my Facebook group where we can discuss more, and I'm posting videos how to use the Oracle Cloud Always Free tier to build a high availability network. Have a great day. Bye.